Hey, so we're back for the latest episode of our Monday night live stream. Very excited. I'll give you a quick look. The little one is here and is cooperating with us a little bit. So we'll see how long that lasts. But super excited for tonight's show.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
No. I'm excited about the lineup. So we're gonna kick things off with talking to a friend of ours from CGC, a card grading company, which Liam's done card grading before, but as I'm still new to TCGs, I'm like, it's a little bit of a mystery to me. So I'm super excited to hear from her. And then in the second half of the show, we're going to be joined by the master of the Seven Dwarfs himself, Mr. Kendall Hale, and chat with him about the Seven Dwarfs and just kind of how life has been with him.
Yeah.
But we also have an amazing co-host this week.
That is true. One more thing I want to preview.
Oh, yeah.
Sorry, I killed the segue.
Sorry. I'll segue again later.
Okay. Near the end of the show, we have a really fun surprise. We've been, watching this Halloween to see what kind of Lorcana related cosplays got busted out after the first set was revealed, and we've picked our favorites for a costume lineup, and we're gonna get.
I will say, I'm kind of interested because we didn't see, even with all of the Rise of the Floodborn cards that had been revealed prior to Halloween, we didn't see, or I didn't see any Rise of the Floodborn. Oh, there was.
There's one. Yep.
Oh wait, there was. Okay, never mind.
So
I take that back.
So we're pretty excited about that. But do you want to segue
Sure.
our guest again?
So we're also being joined by an amazing co-host this week, somebody who has been a part of the Lorcana family since back at D23.
Yeah.
You can,
there we go.
There you go.
Oh no. Hi. How y'all doing?
It's Siggy from Lorcana Cast. Siggy, it's been too long since we've talked, especially live. How have you been?
It's been great. I'm really excited for set 2. Life has been crazy busy. Y'all had a kid. Business is going well, so it's super good. But we're hitting that holiday season, so when you're working in retail, woo boy, good times, but busy times. Also, I took up playing Yu-Gi-Oh, so I'm a filthy casual now. No, I'm just kidding.
Oh no. Part of the cards.
It's one of the most fun casual games you can ever play. Like, it really is a great game. It's just
this is a Lorcana pod.
Oh, that's right. So playing Pokemon trading card game.
Oh yeah.
So that card game is really fun. No, I'm just kidding.
No, I do love Yu-Gi-Oh. I do appreciate for many people how Yu-Gi-Oh was a gateway game into TCGs and something that got a lot of people into it. So yeah, you have some sympathy from the chat. They're wondering if you caught a cold.
Hope I feel better soon. Look, if you've never played with Yu-Gi-Oh cards with a rubber band in a Ziploc plastic bag on the dirt, making up rules as you go, you've never experienced street Yu-Gi-Oh.
That is true. We joke about this all the time, but there is an entire generation, 2 generations now of people who are never going to experience, cards in the dirt, in the rough.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's funny.
Yeah.
Why are you Yu-Gi-Oh in the dirt?
Oh, it's back.
Oh, yeah. So like when Yu-Gi-Oh first came out, actually when trading card games first came out, period. So like Pokemon, Yu-Gi-Oh, most of us weren't kids for Magic. I'm just saying, I'm not that old. But when Yu-Gi-Oh came out, you would grab your cards. They were really expensive. You're too young to afford anything. So you would slap them all into a deck. You have no idea how to play. You go to the school during lunch or recess. You sit down in the dirt or the grass or wherever because playing trading card games was super taboo in school. So if you played at a table, a teacher would come over and slap you on the wrist and go, "Hey, you put those demon cards away." You're like, "Hey, man." So you have to like sneakily do it behind like the dodgeball players or the kids playing on the court. So you're sitting, around and you just lie and say you're playing marbles or something, but really you're, playing Yu-Gi-Oh. Yeah, no sleeves. You got a rubber band. Like if whoever grades these cards is probably having a heart attack listening to this because it's just damage. Yeah, you put them in your pocket. You throw them like it's probably one of my favorite memories of playing trading cards because it's like those, stories our parents tell us with like, yeah, I had this Babe Ruth card and I put it in my spokes of my tires of my bicycle. We were rolling down the street going, and that was your college tuition. You're like, oh. But yeah, Street Yu-Gi-Oh and Pokemon was really fun because it was super illegal. Like,
I do remember boys playing Magic at summer camp in the now that I'm thinking about it. So
Yep.
I
The
got it.
dirt was a playground.
That is
But-
true.
Okay, sorry, we can
Well, I was-
segue. I just
the
did-
worst part about Yu-Gi-Oh too is it had those square corners. So the first time they went, done. Yeah.
So that's an interesting thing we're going to learn from your friend who does card grading. And that's, you've got, so like if you look at Lorcana, you've got these circular edges. So Yu-Gi-Oh is a much harder game to grade because these ridges, these edges are sharp, similar to baseball cards. So there's any damage whatsoever, card's worthless. These are a little bit more forgiving, but they'll probably be similar to like Pokemon. So if you look here, you've got these like ridges on the edge. So whenever there's any kind of damage on the edge of the card, that makes the card worth less and less and less. So essentially when grading, unless they do something differently from what I remember, you start at basically 100 points. And you're looking for a consistent amount of damage either on the front, on the back, on the printing, on the crimping, all kinds of stuff. So that's how you can see if a card is valuable or not, if it's just perfect mint condition versus, oh, hey, like, there's a scratch. Like, here's a magic card. Like, I'm going to just bend it right here. Don't freak out. It's worthless. But, like, if you see there's, like, right here in the light, it's reflecting, there's a little line right there. That reduces the value of the card. So it's way more technical than that. I'm excited to hear a professional talk about it, but that's kind of like the very short version of what we're about to experience is like, why do cards degrade over time? And it's pretty cool what causes a card to be worth a lot and not a lot.
Yeah.
I'll tear the corner off and restore it. Okay, so like here we go. Here's the card. And now, oh my god, it's a Lorcana card. Wow, it's magic. Oh my god. It's okay. This what is it? Feral Encounter. This is like a 17-cent card from the new Eldraine pack. I'm never using it. So
oh man. That's where I see the comment. Well, that I usually say that I'm good at segues, but Sugi, that was the perfect segue. We're really excited tonight to welcome our first guest to the podcast. It's Susan is the marketing manager for CGC, and Susan, you talked to us ages ago, and I know CGC and all your employees there were super excited about Lorcana. So welcome. We're glad you can hang out with us for a bit tonight.
Yeah, awesome. Thanks for having me. I'm excited about Lorcana. It's been a pretty, as much as we can find it, it's been a pretty popular product in our house.
That's awesome. Yeah. Well, yeah, that's welcome to the hunt.
Yeah.
Yeah, so you've probably seen, for all the people who can't find it, you all having them filter through there, at least you've been able to see them, even if they aren't yours to a degree.
Yeah, I don't work in the office. I work remotely. So unfortunately, I don't get to see them, but I definitely get to see when the cool stuff comes through. Our graders will send us pictures, be like, oh, check this out. So I've definitely seen some really nice cards coming through.
Oh, I'm excited to hear details, but I think first, Lorcana is attracting, a lot of casual players and a lot of people who are new to TCGs, and a lot of whom are figuring out for the first time what card grading is. So I was wondering if you could start just by really quickly, describing for everybody what is grading, and then maybe why people do it and what's the value of it.
Yeah, so grading is essentially, there's actually two parts to the grading. It's not just grading. So when you send the card to CGC, they also authenticate it. That's the first part of it, to ensure this is a real card. This isn't a duplicate. This is, a counterfeit card. Somebody didn't print it in their house. And there's some pretty scrupulous people who are gotten very good at faking cards. So the first step for CGC is to actually authenticate that card to make sure it's a legit card. And it goes through a pretty rigorous process to ensure that we have lots of machines of words I don't even know what to call them, and it's very technical and scientific. But that they do that to ensure that, one, it's authentic, two, it's not trimmed, your card that you just ripped the corner off. It wasn't restored. There's a lot of aspects to it. And then from there, then it goes to the grading aspect, which then is essentially giving it a grade from 1 to 10 on how good of a condition the card is. 1 being the worst, 10 being gem mint 10 being the top. And then at CGC, we also have a very top level right above gem mint 10, meaning the best of the best, of which is a pristine 10. So then you get to why. Why do you want to grade your card? And value is part of that. But for a lot of people, especially collectors, they just want to protect their card. It's about ensuring that okay, I'm grading this now. I have a card here. So it's it's a Pokemon card, but it's I have this card, gem mint 10. and now it's in this holder and it's gonna stay like this forever. And I don't have to worry about like, I don't know how many times you guys have moved, but like it moves, maybe you drop a box, something happens over here, your kid gets a little bit older, they're rummaging through your card boxes, they're going through your binders, like those are things that can happen. And trust me, like I have a 7-year-old son, they happen. But the key is then you put this in this and he could play with this and it's like chew on it, while they're teething or whatever, and your card's okay. So a big part of it is protection. And then yes, then there is the value aspect. Like lots of collectors want to get a Gem Mint 10, and that makes it more valuable because it's in like the best condition possible.
It's fascinating. I like that you mentioned like the sentimental grading, because I do think grading gets conflated a lot with, people trying to hunt value and increase the value of their cards and all that. But I myself, graded a card with a different company, but because they were offering deals, but only because I'd had it since I was a kid and I just wanted to, it was sentimental and I wanted to lock it away. And yeah, that was the reason. So glad you mentioned that.
Yeah, that's actually a big reason why I like grade my cards. I don't sell cards. I've never been a seller. I love my card. I love collecting cards. Like I'm like hoarder level status of cards. But I grade them to protect them because like I said, I've moved too many times in my life. I have a child. Like there's just lots of things that could happen that I want to ensure that my cards are going to be, in the same condition as they are today, that they are like years from now.
Mm-hmm.
Can you go over a little bit of the not only the process of grading, but the length of time? Because a lot of people think they send you a card, you grade it, and then it's available in like a week. And depending on the process, that is absolutely not the case. Just because of workload and the amount of authenticity you're trying to put into this, not just slap a card in a machine, cool, look at it, cool, it's back in the mail in like a day or two.
Yeah, so it takes about, depends on the service level, but you can get it back in a day, like in like a day or two, like depending on the service level. But generally, let's say just like you're sending in a couple cards to get graded, I would say you will get them back within like 2 to 4 weeks, and we're looking at business days because it does go through a process. Now, not every card goes through like those like spectrometers or whatever the fancy like machines that are used. It's when there's like you pick it up and there's like, okay, this has questionable authenticity, so it'll go through a different process. But the graders will take the card, examine them, go through all the different sort of like point systems, that not point systems, but like there's corners, edges, surface, and centering are the 4 like different categories graders look at when it. So they go through all of that, and then it goes through the process. Then there's another grader who will actually look at it to confirm that was what the first grader saw was actually correct. And then it goes through our machine, our slabbing machine, essentially, that they call them, because they're called slabs, and put it into one of these crystal clear, beautiful cases that is really, you can't open this. So it's like sonic welded shut. Like it's
Yeah. So there's obviously different ways to grade cards. Can you talk about the difficulty of how Lorcana is graded? Because some cards are like under more scrutiny, like Pokemon, and other cards are probably less. If you think probably like One Piece or Digimon. So is Lorcana on the higher scale of difficulty, lower scale, middle scale? Like, can you talk a little bit about how that works?
Yeah. So every card goes through the same sort of process. There's not like a different process to say for like Lorcana or Pokemon. We do have TCG graders who only will grade TCG because, as you mentioned earlier, like there's the rounded corners versus square corners, and we have our sports graders who stick to sports. So when it comes to this, they go through all the same process. But what I've seen is actually TCG is easier to grade as far as getting like higher grades than actually in sports. You'll find that like Pokemon and even Lorcana, you'll get more like Gem Mint 10s and even pristine 10s. Like I was looking at the numbers earlier, and one of the questions that potentially pop up is like, what is sort of the most popular card you've graded so far? And from Lorcana, it was actually an Elsa card. Let me grab the name, which Elsa card it is. Why don't I see it off the top of my head? I don't know, but it was an Elsa card. And like we've graded about 141 of them, whereas like 121 of them, and 44 have received the pristine 10. Now, pristine 10 is literally the highest grade we give, which is pretty up there. And the fact that a third of the cards we've graded have gotten a pristine 10 of that card is like pretty remarkable. So it's the Elsa Enchanted Spirit of Winter card.
Enchanted. Okay.
Yeah, and we've graded 121 of them. Like I said, 44 have gotten a pristine 10. That's really remarkable because Gem in 10 is like the top grade people want to give. And then, like I said, then there's that small percentage that are like the best of the best. And apparently these Lorcana cards are printed pretty well, that the fact that a third of those have gotten a pristine 10.
Oh, that's fascinating. You answered one question I was going to ask later, and I was interested, besides Elsa, what are the other trends that you're seeing in Lorcana? Is it mostly, I'm going to guess that it's mostly Enchanteds that you're seeing to get graded, but are there any other, cards you see pop up frequently?
Yeah, the promotional cards were super popular. Those were some of the ones that came through, especially obviously before the product was released. So a lot of the promotional cards were pretty popular. I'm looking at the list right now. So like the top one was the Gen Con card. The second one was the Gamescon, the goofy like Gamescon card. Then there's the Elsa Spirit of Winter. There's also the Elsa Spirit of Winter, the one that's not the Enchanted, the 420204.
Okay.
Mickey Wayward Sorcerer, the cold foil card, the Mickey Mouse promo card of the detective, then Mickey Mouse Brave Little Tailor, Stitch Carefree Surfer, rainbow foil. I guess that's the enchanted card. Hades King of Olympus cold foil. So like it's pretty. Those are the top like graded cards of those, and it's pretty sort of diverse of like what people are graded. But you definitely see the enchanted and the cold foils. What's that next level down below enchanted?
Just
legendary.
There isn't. No.
Yeah, it's just legendary. Cold
Yeah,
foil.
but that's what you see. You see like it looks like some of the legendary cards are in there as well.
A couple of those. Oh, go ahead. I'm sorry.
So if someone is watching this, what are some good recommendations for shipping cards to people who are going to be grading? Because a lot of people think I can put this in a sleeve, put it in an envelope, and it'll be safe. And we know that's not the case. But like, what are some recommendations if someone goes, hey, I've got this set of Lorcana, I want graded, but I want to get it safely. What should they do?
Yeah, so what we recommend, and you go to our website, it's actually on our website too, because we want to make sure, like, get your cards to us safely. Put them in a penny sleeve, and in the penny sleeve, we'll put them in the sort of semi-rigids, which are like kind of literal, like they're a little flimsy, but like they're actually the best way for the graders to get the cards. So you put them in the semi-rigids. Wrap them up, like after you get your cards, like put them in bubble wrap, put them in stuff how you want to ship them, put them in a box, and make sure like they're snug in that box, and then ship them to us. So that's the easiest way. We actually sell shipping kits on our website for people who are like, what do I do? Or you could even just like look at the shipping kits and say like, oh, this is what comes in the shipping kit. Cool. This is what I'm going to go out and get so I could ship my cards. So that's the easiest way and the safest way to ship the cards.
And Susan, can you plug your website? It's
cgccards.com.
Okay.
Nice. Can you tell us a horror story while we're on that topic? Like do you have any funny stories or horror stories of like, you get the shipment, you open it up, it's like, oh my God, like this is just destroyed. Or, maybe you just got something you just never expect out of the ordinary. Like you just open up a package like, oh, here's a, Black Lotus. Oh my God.
Well, it's funny. They actually, not so much in the package. Usually people know ahead of time when those are coming. But in our office just a couple of weeks ago, our VP of grading, Matt Quinn, he was sitting down with like, a couple of friends. Hey, let's open this, like, I think it was a beta box, like of Magic. And as we're going through and like, it just happened to have, some alpha cards were in there, I guess. And what did they pull? They pulled the Black Lotus Alpha,
Oh.
It was, to say like it was crazy isn't even an understatement. There was yelling, there was screaming, there was jumping and high-fiving, like maybe even a couple of tears were shed. Like it was pretty insane. It's actually like across our channels, like on YouTube and Instagram at CGC Cards, like, and it was very recent, so you could go see just sort of the wild reaction as one could imagine happened from that.
I can't even. I mean, I feel like in Lorcana, when you pull an enchanted Elsa, your hand is like shaking to not well, I know from experience seeing Liam pull an enchanted Elsa, but I
Not
can't even
mine.
imagine like how much Liam's hand would be shaking if he like even touched a Black Lotus.
Did you get it graded?
Special.
Yeah, I actually got it. I think I got a gem in 10 on that card.
Oh my god.
yeah.
Oh wow.
I think I actually, that was a spoiler. I don't think we posted the video of the grading.
Noted. Yeah, you heard it. You heard it here first.
If we know about anything on this channel, it's NDAs.
I didn't hear nothing. I didn't see nothing. I got to go to the bathroom. I'm out.
Any other, interesting cards come through for Lorcana, like misprints or like the discard cards? Have people been sending those in?
I was looking through the stats earlier. I haven't seen many discard cards. Well, I have to see too if we had any misprints, because like we do grade error cards, which essentially would be like if something was misprinted. So like let's say it was like off the sheet just a little bit, or there was crimping from like the pack when it was sealed. A foil, maybe like a missed foil on when the card was printed. So I have to look back to see if there was any, but I don't recall seeing any, but maybe there was. While I talk, I'm just gonna.
I can kind of help with this segue. So while you're looking, I have a question for you afterwards about catching fakes. So there's, like you said, there's people who are unscrupulous, they're making fake cards. So for other card games, like if you think about Magic, there's that folding check where you can see if the card creases or not. So have you discovered any really good ways to verify that a Lorcana card is not a fake, or just tips and tricks for people who are listening or watching, so that if they were to, go on Facebook Messenger and buy some cards off some random person, they can make sure that it's not a scam?
Yeah. No, that is the tough part about it, because when you do have a new set, like something like Lorcana, there's still a learning process for the graders as well, because it's brand new. And education is something that's super important at CGC cards. Like we make sure that our graders go through an education process consistently, whether, we actually have like somebody who's like head of education at CGC cards to ensure that like they're always learning like new tricks, new information, new cards are coming out. So the thing that was important for Lorcana was actually getting actual real cards in hand, so that they can study them, right? They're able to see like, okay, this is what a card feels like. This is what a card, sometimes even smells like. There are certain things that, like, you have to like touch and feel and smell to ensure that that's an actual card. Like studying the card, like, okay, using the loop, okay, here's what an actual card when it's cut. This is what the cut lines look like, so that you're ensuring that there's no sort of like trimming happening because a card was damaged or something. So there's a lot of ways to determine, but like if a card is legitimate, or like, it's authentic and it's not counterfeit or trim. But it starts with the education process. So it's getting cards, like I said, ensuring like what they feel and look like. And then oftentimes like we'll have people who like love the product, and it's like, we have employees who are like advocates for it. So like we have people who love Lorcana and are all about it. So they hear about like maybe potential issues that have arisen in the community, and will then study those types of things so that we can ensure that everything what you're getting is like authentic.
Yeah, that's fascinating. We have a question that kind of dovetails off that from good friend Jonty with the Inkwell is asking about the training process for graders. How long is the process, educational requirements, etc. And then I guess kind of the other piece too, as you kind of mentioned, is I'm guessing it's not a requirement, but I'm guessing that most of these graders are also just fans of the games that they're or the products that they're responsible for. So
for sure, like like being a collector and being a fan is like, it's not a requirement, but trust me, it helps in the process, because you're going to know things about like these cards that like maybe like an average collector or somebody just starting out with. So like you're the expert, like the graders are the experts on these cards. So the key is for them to, like I said, learn about these cards. So then what is the process like? They go through a testing phase first to see like, would they make a good grader? So they get tested first, and then if they hit like a certain level, like, okay, like, yes, this is somebody we can work with, they will go through months of training with our team to ensure that, they are learning how the whole process works from start to finish, continually working with our education team, and then they go from there. But the key is, like, if you want to be a grader, is to actually, like, take cards, go over them, give them a grade you think they would get, and submit those cards and see how, like, you do. Like, you could start training yourself at home to do it. And a lot of our graders started that way.
It's fascinating. Yeah, that's cool.
It's not easy.
I
It's
believe
not.
it. I believe it. I've tried before, and because you see online, people on Facebook groups and stuff, everybody's posting, and they're like, what do you think this would get, and posting pictures, and I'm terrible, because there's little itty bitty, things. That
Yeah, I'll say the biggest thing for people to look at if they're at home is actually, like, the surface of a card. So I'm just gonna. I have my Lorcana binder here, so
Yeah.
so I'm just gonna pull out a card. Hey. And, like, the key is looking at a surface of a card. And I actually learned this from our graders. Like, they taught this as well. And I'm going to move my light here. Because surface is the one that tricks people up a lot. So what you end up doing is you take a card, see if I could do it here. And, like, you want to put it on the light, under a light source like this. I'm trying to show it with, like, maybe it's the other light that'll work better. So yeah, that works a little bit better. It's going to fall now, but that's okay. And you kind of put it like this under a light source. You see how it's, like, all whited out the card? That's kind of what you want to see, because what will happen then is it will allow you to see the imperfections on the surface of a card. As I fix this crazy lamp that's going to fall on me now. But it'll allow you to see the imperfections on the card, so that's where a lot of people get hung up on cards. When they get it back, they're like, I thought this was a 9 or 10, and it came back an 8.5, and not realizing there was a dimple that they missed, or a small scratch, or something along that nature. So that's, like, one of the biggest tips that for me, when, like, I was talking to the graders, that I found extremely helpful.
You like that surface tip. I think you're right, because the first thing I always do is I look at the corners. I'm like, oh, the corners look great. This is amazing. And then I forget about the surface. I think we're getting close to time on the first segment, but we did have a question come in that I really like, and I want to take a stab at it first, and then I'll ask Sugi for his answer, and then Susan, and end with you on this. Somebody asked from Twitch, Lorcana's their first TCG, which we love, and new to grading. And so the question is, what would we say to a newbie in the TCG world to convince him to grade his 2 enchanted cards, which, congratulations on those. Those are not easy to pull.
We speak from experience.
Experience. I think my answer would be peace of mind and protection. If those cards are valuable, it's your first TCG. If those cards mean something to you, if you pull them and you remember the adrenaline and the excitement, and as Susan said earlier, you don't want to stress about spilling something on it or moving, or just over the years it's sliding around in the pocket, and you want it to look as good 20 years from now as it does now, that would be the reason I would say.
Can I go?
Yeah.
Okay. Sorry, I was gonna get skipped. So us two, I know, I was like, excuse me, I have thoughts.
Sorry.
No, that's okay. Anyway, I mean, I would say, like, for us, we've never pulled an enchanted, but we've been able to procure a few. And although, we're collectors, we never anticipate getting rid of our Lorcana collection because we just love it so much. But, something we've joked about before is our enchanted cards are potentially her future college fund. And, and having that now today, your card protected and graded, even though we never plan to part from our cards and we love enjoying them, you never know in 18 to 20 years if all of a sudden she, gets into Harvard and we need extra money or something like that. I'm willing that into existence. Anyway, so that's what I would say. Okay, now.
Yeah. Oh, okay. Thank you. I think there's 2 different aspects to this question. So the team from the Illuminators is definitely more on that collector side, and I'm more on the player side. So my collection of slab cards is more on a memory emotional scale. So most of my cards are getting played, even the enchanteds, because I want to play with the cards, because that's what gives me the most rush But I do have some of my very first Pokemon TCG from like base set cards slabbed. I've got like first editions, rare cards, like things that are really, really valuable to me are the things that are slabbed. But in all reality, they're probably honestly not the most expensive cards in the world that you'll ever see. Like, it's not a Black Lotus, but for me, it's valuable. So I think for your specific question, you as a hobbyist, anyone who's listening, if you want to slab a card, it should be something that's valuable to you, not necessarily something that people tell you to slab, because you might want to use that enchanted card at some point. And if it's in a slab, you really cannot do such a thing. So I think that everyone should pick and choose what they find is valuable, precious, and important, and then send it off and get it protected. So that way you'll never lose it. Because a lot of my cards that are worth a lot of money, at some point they're going to get sold or traded or something, because I'm just constantly cycling through cards as a player. But the things I really want to keep for the next 20, 30, 40, 50 years, those are definitely behind glass. So it depends on what you want. Really, it really is important.
Yeah. Susan, to close out, what's your answer?
I agree with all those points, but to like actually piggyback on like what Aaron said, you don't know what's going to happen in the future, and it actually, like, if you have your cards, great, and if you're not going to play with them, and I'll say that if you're not going to play with them, and you're just collecting them, and they're just like in hold, and then you're like, okay, let's grade them. It's easier for, like, if you need to for some reason liquidate your cards for whatever reason, it's easier to get rid of them that way as well. Not get rid of them, but then sell them that way as well. Because unless you're playing with them, lots of times when people are looking to buy, like, they generally are looking for like slabbed cards, because it's like authentication, condition, and all that stuff is pretty important to them. So there's lots of reasons to grade beyond value, which is, like you said, like nostalgia, sentimental value, keeping your cards protected. So there's lots of reasons to grade your cards.
I love it. I think we covered. Susan, thank you so much for this. This was a treat. We hope to do this again as more cards come out and people grade, and as we get our submission back from you. And
it arrived today, by the way. I forgot to tell you. We did get it.
I'm excited to see. I am not a professional, so they're going to come out horribly graded, and they're going to be a good lesson in how to evaluate your cards beforehand. But it'll be a fun experience either way.
Awesome. Well, thanks for having me on. I really appreciate it. If anybody has any other questions about grading, you could always jump on like our social media at CGC Cards. Like, team is always there, willing to help. Head to cgccards.com and check it out.
Thanks so much again.
Thanks,
Big
Susan.
Lorcana fans in the office. So bye, Susan. That was fun. I learned a lot.
That was fun. And we convinced, is it Nebef? We convinced them to make a decision on grading or not. But
it's not for everybody.
Really cool.
It's not for everybody, but if it is an experience, and it is something to try. I think for it's worth experiencing.
Yeah.
I think it's a fun thing that people should look into, but if you're not interested in it, like, don't worry about it.
Yeah.
100%.
I agree.
I collected TCGs for a bajillion years, graded my first cards last year. So
yeah. Mm-hmm.
And really excited for our next guest, for everybody hanging out. I was looking for a good segue there. I couldn't pull it off.
Give up 7 reasons why we should be checking out.
Why
you're excited.
We should grade cards. And speaking of the number 7, we saw a great reveal.
I thought you were going to say you have 7 reasons why you love our next guest.
That too. Well, that's not a segue. It's making up the thing.
Sorry.
But, no, I'm just going to bring him on in. Welcome.
Hi,
Kendall Hale.
Hey, everybody. I'm back.
Kendall you're back again. Kendall, I know, we had you on fairly recently, but when the 7 dwarves were revealed, we had to reach out again.
That was a big day for me, huh?
I believe it.
I was telling Liam, I loved your reaction in the morning when Dopey got revealed. You're like, oh boy, here they come.
Yeah.
It's like floodwaters releasing.
Well, and they don't let us know that they're coming out. It's just, oh, surprise, your stuff's in the public eye today.
Well, when you said that, I wasn't necessarily expecting all 7. So when you were like, oh boy, here they come, I'm like, wait, there's more. Like, what's about to happen?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I didn't know if they were going to drop them all today. Or that day. Yeah, I was as surprised as you were, actually.
Well, they did, and they're great. I do want to remind everybody, real quick. So, Kendall, if you don't know Kendall, 8 cards in the first. I thought there were 9. I think I'm missing one.
I think we are.
There's one other. It's the Mickey Rogue Super Rare that I
Yeah,
worked on with Alex.
Alex, of course, I got one, but 9 wouldn't fit, so 8 was all you got on this slide.
Yeah.
But I got the good one. So, Kendall, 9 cards in the first set. I think you're one of the most prolific artists. And then, to show everybody what we're talking about, it's the dwarves.
So good, Kendall. So good.
Thank you, guys.
You're so amazing.
Yeah, the response has just blown me away, and in a way, it was like exactly what I wanted to happen. I wanted people to figure out what was going on with the artwork and the theming and stuff, and it just, I did my best to keep my lips closed and just watch the day play out, and people like slowly like, wait a minute, and it was just what I wanted.
It was really cool to see on Discord servers people starting after like the 4th one came out, like, wait a second, I think these are gonna fit together.
Yeah. That was I like that they kind of split them up and spaced them out that way, because there were only 2 in the first 4 that kind of connected, and that gave like enough of a little hint for people to start like getting into it, and then they had to wait like a couple hours for the rest of them to drop. I love that they did it that way.
Yeah, I think I'll never forget. I think it was the dopey and then happy butterflies, where people circled them, and that's where they were like, wait a second.
Yeah.
The same. Yeah, and Jaunty from the Ink World, another amazing comment. Yeah, and they were all released by Disney Parks, which is just apropos. Given that these are Disney's first full-length animated film and just iconic characters from Disney's early days. So yeah, fantastic. Kendall, which out of all, well, actually, first, the panorama. How did that come about?
Okay, so this is, I have no qualms saying this, but it was all me, baby. I came up with the idea.
Nice. Yeah.
Yeah, and I'm very proud of it, because it was I pitched it, and they were like, "Oh yeah, it sounds good to us. Just go for it." And then I figured out everything pretty much on my own. Like I got the inspiration from a set of Pokemon cards that I picked up when I was a kid. There's a set called the Southern Islands.
Mm-hmm. Yes, sir.
Yeah,
I know what you're talking about. Yep.
No one else does. You buy them in sets of 3, and they come with a postcard. And the postcard has the art from all 3 cards lined up so that they all are in the same like scene together. They're all playing. And when I got them, it was from Japan. So we got them imported in our city through our local game store. And I didn't know what they meant. I was just like, these are super cool. And they have Gen 2, and Gen 2 hasn't been released in the States yet. So now I'm better than my friends. But that's where like the panorama idea came from. And then you get into like Magic. A bunch of the Magic artists have done it, and they're so good at it. And that was an inspiration too. So all my research was like, how did they get this to like line up, and did they account for the borders, or did they not care about the borders? And there's a lot of really great inspiration out there too.
Yeah, talking about the panoramic art, when you did this, was it individual, or did you do one big panorama and then they just cut it up into 7 different segments for the cards?
In the original art that I have, that I don't know if I'll ever be able to publicly release it or not, the entire background connects seamlessly, and I worked on the background all as one piece. And then I had planned out in like specific measurements, like this is where each dwarf will go, and this is the exact spacing that I need. And bibbidi bobbidi boo, just keep checking on it. Like every time I have a revision, just like check and make sure like these still line up, right? Yeah. And just get super retentive about it. But and then cut them up at the end and submit them.
Yeah, you were even, I feel like the day it came out, you were even like, they better, like, I hope they will line up.
Oh my gosh, that was my biggest worry, because sometimes they'll nudge things to have a better composition sometimes after you already give them the stuff, and luckily like everything still lines up. So couldn't be happier.
I mean, and it's now a piece of, Lorcana history. I mean, I'm sure we'll see, like you said, we'll see other Pando cards and other, the team will take this idea and move it forward. In fact, people are speculating we may see something similar with Pain and Panic and Hades, but who knows? But this is the first time we'll ever see this, and probably one of the only times we'll ever see 7 characters in a row like this. It's just so cool.
Yeah.
When I don't want to get into, because to be clear for the audience, there's plenty that we can't discuss, and a lot of what goes into making the cards and all that is we can't discuss. But just on an emotional level, what did it feel like, if you can talk about it, to receive the brief and to realize you were going to be responsible for bringing forward some of the oldest animated Disney characters and some that are just iconic?
Yeah, I mean, I think when I was a little kid, they were still kind of, they still did the re-releasing old movies in the theaters, like old Disney movies in the theaters every couple of years. And one of the last ones to do that was Snow White. And I remember seeing it as a kid in the theater and just wanting the Happy Meal toys so bad. I loved the dwarves, and I loved their proportions and just like how they were designed and everything. And as I like kind of studied the film later, like in college, to understand like all of the sacrifice and all of the risks that went into making that movie and having it work out in the end, it's unreal that it's as good as it is. And so, when I got these cards, like I watched the movie several times, and I did so many like sketches to just get a feel for the dwarves and just kind of like how do you get them to look distinct from each other, because they are very similar and also very unique at the same time. And all these just like little tiny things, like, well, if you space someone's eyes just a little bit closer, it looks like a different dwarf, kind of stuff.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah. And so, except for Dopey, they all have beards. What makes each beard different? How does each beard like act different when they're in a different pose and posture? Like Grumpy's folding his arms and his beard goes under his arms and like comes out the bottom. Versus someone else, like their beard will like sit on top of their arms and like rest there. And just kind of things like that. It was just so much fun to figure out all these things like a giant puzzle about the dwarves.
So based on what you can and can't talk about, how much creative liberty do they give you when you're sketching the dwarves? Because you're obviously the artist, but you're coming from a source material. So do you get to add a flair, or are you just copying them and making them, available for a trading card game? Or, what is that realm of control that you have that you get to kind of spice it up with, Kendall flavored magic?
Yeah, so I that's one thing I can't go into too much detail about, but I tried a whole bunch of different stuff. I tried to really like play around with what will they let me do and what won't they let me do kind of stuff. And because Disney is like, they're still kind of in love with the dwarves as an iconic piece of their history. There's a couple characters, it's like Jiminy Cricket and Tinkerbell will always be like not just Disney brand, but like mega Disney brand.
Yeah.
And so, I tried to push things, and I tried to, especially like Dopey, just try to make him like look really silly. And I made Grumpy look way too perturbed. I had to dial some of those things back. They were a little too far, but it was still way fun to draw.
Right. Okay. So then, since you can't talk about that, here's something you probably can talk about. You were saying that you gave each of the dwarves something that kind of defines them, that gives them that identity, even though they're a part of a group. Can you talk a little bit about some of those things on the cards that give those characters identity? Because you were talking about Grumpy as a great example. Like his beard is under his arms instead of over his arms. Dopey doesn't have a beard. Some little details people may or may not be paying attention to. They go, "Oh, that's really cool."
Oh man, that's a good question. I did like a little bit of deep dive. There's a Disney short that not too many people know about, and it was produced by Disney to educate people working on the Panama Canal. And they used
I know what you're about. Yeah.
They use the Seven Dwarfs to like help teach these things in a fun way, but also educational. And man, you really start to see like oh, what are the Seven Dwarfs like when they have to like, spread pesticide and dig through the mud and like bury litter in the ground and stuff. And you start to learn a couple more like deep dive stuff about their characters. There's a couple things that like even gravity, the way that gravity will affect their hats. Happy is so joyful that gravity is defying the sag of his hat, like his hat just sticks straight up. Whereas someone like Dopey is completely like a slave to gravity, like gravity works against him, right? He's so like all over the place and so clumsy and falls all over the place. His hat just has like no pull, like it's just all sag, right? Just kind of things like that.
That's incredible. Thank you.
Yeah,
that's fascinating. Do you have we've gotten this question like 4 or 5 times. Do you have a favorite dwarf?
It's like half and half with like Dopey and Grumpy, which, and they're like the most popular ones, but like those are the Happy Meal toys that I wanted, right?
Mhm.
When I was a kid, like I'd
Yep.
pull out Doc and I was like, what is this? I didn't ask for this. Dad, go back and like buy another Happy Meal so I can get the one I want, I think Dopey really reminds me of my son, because he's at that age where like he doesn't, he's 2 years old and he's still like trying to figure out gravity himself, and so he's very clumsy and trips all over the place. He dressed like Dopey for Halloween, so
Oh my gosh!
it was a little teaser to our friends and family before they knew about the cards. But
that's cool.
That's a great segue for like 5 minutes from now. So we're gonna pretend that you said that 5 minutes.
Oh, okay. Which dwarf did you start with? Do you remember?
I think it might have been Sleepy. I think he was the first one. I looked back at the sketches recently, and his was like the worst. So I think he was the first one.
He was the warm up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So when you were designing these, were you doing them in like the order of the panorama, or was it kind of random? Like, okay, Sleepy, Happy, Doc, Grumpy, Sneezy.
No, actually, so the order switched a little bit. We had to switch 2 of the dwarves. I think it was Bashful and Happy had switched places, and then once there are little things about like the backgrounds that help clue in where to connect them, such as the flowers and then the pollen going into Sneezy. And things like that kind of it just worked better with Bashful to hold the flowers because he's the hopeless romantic. And so it was like, oh, just shove Happy all the way to the side and call it good. But everyone else kind of had the same spot since the beginning, though.
How did your family feel about Snow White on repeat, probably at your house? Because I cannot imagine how many times you had to watch that movie to capture their essence.
Yeah, well, so I don't think they watched it when I was watching it. I was like, go leave me alone. I'm doing my job. I'm watching Snow White for work. And just kind of shut everybody out. We did have, I think we showed my son the movie sometime later after that, and he really liked it.
Oh, that's awesome.
So I want to offer one note on the art and then a question for you about Lorcana in general. For everybody watching, like, don't just pay attention to the dwarves too. Like, if you look at the background, the shape language that you've done, Kendall, with all of the tree branches and the pollen interweaving, and there's so many little patterns that indicate the amber color identity, which are just so good.
Yeah.
It's
even in like when you look at the stump on the ground, Kendall didn't do rings on a stump like you would normally see. It's like the amber shape language are the rings on the stump. It's brilliant.
That's very good. That was sort of a statement, but I don't know if you want to.
Yeah. So one of the other Lorcana artists complimented me on the intertwining like branches on the trees, and you'll see on like the flower stems and stuff. Just finding like anywhere I could fit those in, and most of it was just in the plants.
Yeah.
It's really good. I mean, it's both obvious and subtle at the same time. It's
Mhm.
hard to describe. I do, in the interest of people getting to know you too, who missed previous streams, I do want people to know that you are not only, you know, a prolific Lorcana artist, but a big Lorcana fan. You completed your set at Miami, which is exciting to see. Have you gotten to play much with your family since Miami?
Play with my family? No. But I unloaded my treasure trove on my wife like right after we got back. It was like the one thing I wanted to do, and she just like cleared the table with her arm and just laid out all the cards, and was just like cataloging everything, and she had the Lorcana app open. It was like, okay, we have this many of this card and this many of this card, and I'm gonna make sure I get all these in order, and I just got to watch, and it was great. That was one of the highlights of Miami, was going out and finding the cards I needed and being able to like make deals with people, and people they were so generous and so kind. They gave me, you know, better deals than I could have found on like eBay or like a local store here or something like that. It was, yeah, haven't gotten to play yet though. Still kind of working on that.
Well, the Dwarf deck, which you will be able to get in the very near future, will give you good impetus to do so.
Yeah, I am really excited about that, man. A whole deck full of dopies. Dopies and grumpies. I need like plus 20 plus to all everybody's attack. Just 20 grumpies stacking.
You're going to add to the, I feel like there's a trend amongst the artists where each of you have a card you're really passionate about and you all just want a deck of that card.
Yeah.
Like Christian Romero wants an entire deck of Sergeant Tibbs. Just
Yeah.
One more question just from the chat before we do our surprise costume I don't know, reveal
commentary.
In the interest of getting to know you too, like Steven asked, you know, are you collecting cards signed by other artists? Yeah. And I know the answer, but I figured we'd ask.
Yeah, absolutely I am. I think like as artists, we kind of just have this like unspoken and spoken admiration for each other. And the very first night I was in Miami, I just very quietly, after meeting every single person, was like, I brought a couple of cards. Can you sign them for me? And most of them are like the commons and uncommons that I brought with me. But yeah, I love getting everyone's signature and then bringing it home and just putting it next to the others and looking at them all. Yeah, I love that.
And getting to meet you all in person.
Bless you.
Getting those, it just brings like looking. Sorry, somebody's got the sneezes apparently. Looking back at the card, it just brings such incredible memories back, and it makes, you know, one thing we talk about is like the cards are so much more impactful when you get to know the artists, but then when you have like, now that we have, you know, your signature on some of our cards, it just like brings back amazing memories of like the time we got to spend in Miami and that sort of thing. It makes it real and tangible.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, just like it was riding a bike.
I know.
All right, I want to, before we run too much out of time, and Brandon, I see your question. We may ask it later. No, I want to do something fun. It's been Halloween. We saw a lot of Lorcana Halloween costumes. We've been grabbing them off the socials, and we love highlighting the creativity of the Lorcana community. And Kendall, since we've done a project before where we looked at some fan art, you know, together and got to comment on that, I thought it might be fun to look at some Halloween costumes. And,
yeah, let's do it.
Viewer. We're super excited. This is cheesy, but it's fun. This is a super fun one.
Strong.
Yeah, starting out
strong. Oh my gosh.
Lorcana Illuminary. This is Rebecca.
I can't believe this is the card from
Rise of the Floodborn
that I got, but it's so incredible.
Yeah. Great Rise of the Flood. And she turned this out pretty quick.
Yeah, that's fast turnover, man. That's super fast. Make something like that.
Yeah. And super cool. Rebecca has a great Instagram account. Everybody should follow her. Rebecca, if you're here, props. This is a fun one. We have a few content creators in the mix here.
Ooh,
loved this one. This was another play
God.
on a Lorcana costume.
She made that skirt out of all of her booster packs.
Yeah.
Is that not insane?
I mean,
quick, someone do math.
I can't.
There must be more than like 6 there.
There are several more than 6. And I'm trying to do the math on the market value of those packs too. I mean, that's
yeah, that's a
expensive, but super cool. I thought that was a fun one. There's a couple BLT Mickeys. This is the first one.
Bonus points for being at Disney in this photo.
That is true.
Which one? Which one? Do you know which one?
I don't know which one. I'm gonna assume World. It kind of
Can
looks
you
like
tell?
World.
I can't tell.
I'm pretty sure that would be Land because World has a stairway that walks up to the castle,
That is true.
whereas Disneyland has a flat.
Well, there you go. Deep cut knowledge there, Siggy.
I'm also pretty sure that's Cinderella. Or no, yeah, Jaunty's with me. It's Disneyland.
Jaunty says Anaheim.
Yeah.
Jaunty knows.
Yeah, Jaunty knows all.
And first to 20 is verifying.
I wish I could see the top of the castle, but yeah.
No,
Oh, that's cool.
Like said, it was like cut off, so I couldn't even. Okay.
This is another BLT Mickey.
It's amazing. Absolutely amazing.
oh my gosh, I hadn't thought of that. That's so great.
No, I had to grab it.
I just got the joke. Okay,
Kudos. I mean, it's we had to grab it.
spectacular. It's spectacular.
We had to grab it. All right. So those are the 2 Mickeys. Agree. This giant tank
Is awesome.
yeah.
For scale, that's pretty funny, actually.
Yeah, it's pretty awesome.
Yeah.
The poor pirate looks very unhappy though.
That's true. Because she's got his ship.
Oh, that's so good.
So Kendall, if we had the Dopey costume, we would have included. That'd be super fun. This one
is hard to see a little bit, but
it is hard to grab. But yeah, this was at Disney World as well. These
Wow.
are discard
not
cards.
as well because it was Disney.
Oh, that's true. These are Disney World. As opposed to Land.
I was gonna say deep cut on this one. Where are they?
Yep.
Yeah, discard Lorcana cards. How amazing is that?
Yeah, I think this was heading to Oogie Boogie Bash 2 or something. So that's pretty funny. Anyway, that was a funny one. We have 3 more. One of our favorites here. This is Becky from Live Laugh Lorcana. And she, I think, won her LGS costume contest here.
I think the Giant
hope
team
so.
did as well.
That's true.
I think the Giant team said they won their costume contest as well.
Yeah.
Nice.
So
Kendall, we were looking for some of your cards. We didn't. Nobody had them.
yeah,
They didn't know the Seven Dwarfs were coming yet.
somebody
That is
needs to
true.
be Rogue Mickey next year.
Yes, Rogue Mickey.
Yeah.
Liam can do it.
I
I'll
might.
start throwing now, man.
I don't have the time. Challenge. The gauntlet is thrown for next year. 2 more.
Go to Disney World and get a cloak from Galaxy's Edge.
That is true.
Then you'll be really deep cutting in.
Hard to costume in an Archimedes. That is true.
Yeah.
But man, we'll have to may have it. So we have an Elsa here, right? With a spell book, with a lore spell book.
That's intense, man. That staff.
Yeah,
That's so good.
it's like an ink caster.
That's cool.
Super cool.
Is it a pen?
Yeah,
I
like a
can't tell
pen
if the
tip
tip
on
cut
it.
off.
It's like to me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It looked like an ink caster, or like a pen or something like that. I found this like 10 minutes before we got on the live stream, by the way. So
Oh, way to go.
I'm so glad I did because this is an awesome costume.
I guess I'll be happy then if Jaunty's gonna be dopey.
That is true. For those not
Seven
following
Dwarfs.
that, there's been a challenge to do 7 dwarves, and
Oh gosh.
Jaunty's claimed dopey. And finally,
My hat defies gravity. Oh my god.
we have Citizens of Lorcana
Hey, there we go.
participating, wishing us a safe and happy Halloween.
had to throw Flounder in there. He
Yeah.
dressed up.
Perfect.
Where
always
was
watching.
wardrobe? That's all I had. Where was wardrobe?
Providing
This
the
Halloween.
outfits to everybody else.
That is, you know what?
There you go.
Friend touche.
A couple minutes. Kendall, what did we not ask you that we should have about the dwarves?
I've got one for you.
One more. All right.
So as an artist, especially with this project, what was something that was an inspiration? Obviously, you've got the movies to help you, but was there anything else that was kind of a guiding light when you're thinking, how am I going to portray these in a classical format? But we're in 2023, so you're using digital art assets and you're creating this from scratch while still honoring the classical art that was done in so many years ago by Walt and his team.
Oh man, that's a good question. So, I mean, the background is very heavily based on some. It might even be like a background used in the movie, but it is the dwarf's hut, and it's like the exact view that you can see, I think, in the movie. And I wanted it to just be like very recognizable as much as possible. I know that's not like one of the most recognizable places in like Disney films, but if I was going to do a panorama of something, I wanted that to be it. As far as like, I don't know, apart from like the movie itself just kind of inspiring me. When I was working on these cards, we were getting ready to have our second kid, and so I did do like a couple of like little hidden name tributes in the cards. It was so long ago I can't even find them all anymore, but they're there. There's a couple of just family members and stuff. I hid their names in like little tiny spots, and I'm not going to say where they are, but
the sleuths are gonna.
That's cool.
This, that's so awesome.
I guess that's one other question I did want to ask. So when you think about Magic, you usually do a big piece of art and then you shrink it down for a card. Is that something similar you did here, where you hid those names because it's much larger on your computer, and then it was shrunken down to the size of this guy here, just
Yeah, and I mean that's probably why I can't find some of them anymore. I got to open up like the original files and see if I just zoom in and see if I can find them again.
Enhance.
Yeah.
We'll close up with John T claims there's an N on Dopey. We'll just let you stare at the camera or not. This is absolutely fantastic. Kendall, can't thank you enough for joining us on short notice. Again, we didn't have this plan when the Dwarfs job. We were like, Kendall, you got to come chat about the Dwarfs because they caused such a stir. So thanks for coming on. How can people follow you on social media?
So my socials are all Kendall Hale Art, all one word, and that's Kendall Kendall. And Instagram, Twitter, ArtStation, DeviantArt, Tumblr. I'm on everything. Send me a message and say hi. I like being friends with people. So
that's awesome. And Sugi, thanks for joining us. This was a treat. It's been too long. Let's do it again soon. How can people follow LorcanaCast?
So you can find us on Twitter and Facebook at LorcanaCast. And ironically, our episode this week that we recorded many days ago was about the Seven Dwarfs. So that's going to be a really fun conversation coming from here to there on Wednesday. But we'll definitely have to do some more stuff in the future together. I think it's a good time. And thanks, Kendall, for coming on and just sharing your heart and so many interesting things about the artistry of trading cards, because a lot of people don't know. It's pretty cool.
Nah, man, my pleasure. I love coming on with you guys. You're great.
Oh, and the deep cuts, the World War deep cuts. That was great.
Yeah.
Not many people they just don't know. There's so many good shorts that.
Oh yeah.
Good times.
Now everybody go look them up. Spike those YouTube numbers. But other than that, everybody who's here, thanks so much. Appreciate you subscribing if you haven't yet. And I'll close off after I go figure out what's going on with the little one with